Welcome to Cool Club's Reviews. Today we're going to do something we haven't done before, but we're going to do plenty more of it.
Right.
Shaft reviews.
Yeah, that's kind of our bread and butter, right? So that's kind of what we specialize in. We obviously, have our S3 machine and we measure every shaft and we stick a shaft in the machine and it kicks out 100,000 pieces of data. And we do a lot with all that and kind of develop, how these shafts react to different people.
So today, we've done some interviews with lots of big companies, and one of the most prevalent golf shafts on tour right now is the Fujikura Ventus. And it doesn't matter what Ventus, but there's lots of them.
Right, there's tons of them, and it's a little confusing. So we're trying to explain Ventus today and what the different models are. There's red, there's black, there's blue, and they also make a TR version, which is a little bit lower torque. So we'll talk about all those.
And we had to make a tough call. There's 5s, there's 6, there's 7s, then there's S, R, X, R2, R1.
Right.
So we've just consolidated it. We've gone the Ventus line, normal and TR, and we've gone all 60 grams and all stiff.
Right.
So at least we're trying to do
in the middle of the wheelhouse.
Yeah,
right,
middle
right.
and apples to apples.
And this kind of translates to all, pretty closely translates to all the different flexes, right? They all kind of are similar in different flexes.
Yep. Let's just get stuck into it. We've got, let's start with a normal Fuji Ventus line.
Right. Well, the first one came out is obviously the Ventus Blue, which we're highlighting here. This is the Ventus Blue, kind of right around the middle. We talk about it's actually a low to mid launching shaft. And that's one thing we'll definitely touch on, how these things launch. And everyone's kind of used to the old, red launches high, blue's medium, and, white or black or whatever is low launching. And that's kind of a thing we've been talking about in the industry forever. And Fuji's done basically the same thing, right? So the red is their higher launching one. The blue is kind of mid launching, and the black is low launching, but not as much as you might think.
Yeah. I think the shocker out of both lines, and we'll obviously touch on it a bit more, is the red.
Right.
Because, this where you would start normally is, okay, well, red, we're talking high launch, but relative to lots of other golf shaft manufacturers, it's not high.
No, it's more like mid.
And even in this range, we're talking about mid. It's not even high relative to the others within the range.
To themselves, yeah. They're all kind of mid-range, mid-low, and low is what they came up with.
So when we take a look, let's see the things that would impact that. So if we take a look at the Fuji Red in CPM, so cycles per minute,
right.
When the butt's clamped and you ping the shaft up and down, this has been a measurement that's been around for a long time now.
Right.
And we're evolving that into something meaningful. Hopefully everyone will understand.
Right.
But essentially, it's not the softest. It's actually the stiffest CPM.
It's the stiffest by a fair amount, actually. It's almost 10 CPM stiffer than the blue was in the same flex. So you would think 10 CPMs is essentially a flex.
Yeah.
So you think that played one flex stiffer. Well, it doesn't quite do that, but it does play a little bit stiffer than the other ones.
Yeah. And another thing that would make it play stiffer is the torque number.
Right.
So
torque's relatively low, and the red is the lowest of the three. Right.
Yep.
So that kind of counteracts the higher CPM. It's lower torque, but it is a little higher launching.
Because of the tip section.
Because of the tip section, yeah. So we kind of focus on the tip section of the club, and this is really the big difference. If you look at it, they're all got pretty stiff butt sections, and we're just talking about the regular, not the TR at this point. The mids are all pretty similar. They're in the 40, 45 range, and the tips vary quite a bit. These numbers are smaller, obviously, so they're bigger changes, right? So this is a 33% change between the black, which is really stiff tip, right,
yeah.
30, and the red, which is relatively soft, 21. So what that does to the launch characteristics, obviously, and this is a big, the tip has a huge effect on the launch. Also, so does the middle section as well, but tip's primarily driver on launch angle. So the black's a low launching shaft. The blue's kind of low mid, and the red's actually almost a mid launching shaft.
So Fuji are doing what they've said.
Right.
It's just maybe not as extreme as what people would perceive.
Right. Yeah. Typically, you see in lines like that where they have 3 different models, low, mid, and high. They're pretty extreme. Yeah. These are all, in line. They're definitely higher launching as you go, but even the red is kind of a mid launching shaft.
So what we're seeing there is the Ventus Red in the normal line is a really stable feeling because it's stiff CPM, it's low torque, but then the soft tip's going to kick it up. So it's like you would need a little bit of speed to play it, but it's
right.
going to kick the ball up in the air a bit more than the others.
Yeah, exactly. Just a little bit high launching.
Yeah.
Actually plays a little stiffer, if anything. You'll see on the far right-hand side here, these are our S3 playability numbers, which we're going to publish some of these, probably be rounded. But in general, the red is actually the stiffest of the bunch. Black is pretty similar. But the blue is the softest of the bunch. This is the first one they came out with.
Yeah. So the key there is to like look at those two numbers on the right hand side there next to each other. So you got the playability number, which is really like, okay, what's your speed and what's your tempo? Who should be playing this golf shaft? Who can that golf shaft handle? And then what's the launch characteristic that marries up to it?
Right.
You know, it's not saying, you know, the red's the stiffest, therefore it's the strongest and lowest. It's two separate things being talked about.
Things, yep.
So if we think about that as well, the blue, and I think this is true, especially out in fittings, is that although it's a stiff, when you look at the others, you're almost nearly half a flex.
About a half a flex, yeah.
Up, even though they're all stiffs. The blue plays smooth. It feels smooth. Everyone loves the feeling of it. It's great.
Right.
So the feel differences between these three shafts are going to be drastic.
Yeah, they're definitely different. The torque's quite a bit different, and you know, the kick points are different, so they definitely feel considerably different.
Okay, so now let's take a look at the TR models.
Yeah, the TR models in general are a little bit lower torque. As you can see, the black is 3.1 versus 2.8. Red is, you know, 2.6 versus 2.7, and the blue is a little lower. So basically about 0.2 degrees of torque less in the TR.
And when we did that, the interview with the guys from Fuji,
Right.
that was, you know, they are using a different material, and it does reduce torque. It's not, you know, torque reduced. That's not what TR stands for or anything like that.
Right.
But
That's
ironically,
that's a good one, though.
that's what it is,
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah.
That's what happens. You can see that the FMs are also a little higher in both of them. Actually, the black's identical.
Right. But they're similar for the most part.
Yeah. And then the tip sections are all, so they're all designed to do the same thing, but maybe that torque component's really the feel change.
That's the biggest difference, and I think overall, when we start to, we'll have another quick explanation of what the difference between the non-VeloCore is. But, you know, these are generally low torque shafts, and what they're trying to do with that is, you know, lower the torque, lower the CPMs, and let you hit a little further.
Yeah, and then tighten up the dispersion at the back end.
Right.
There. So the launch characteristics didn't change because the tip sections are almost identical across the board, but the playability numbers jumped up just a hair, right? So the blue TR,
quarter flex higher.
Yeah, and the blue TR definitely plays nearly it does play half a flex stiffer than the normal blue.
Right.
So that's a big feel change for guys. So I think
in general, oversay, you know, don't make it too complicated, right? The TR definitely plays about a quarter to a half a flex stiffer than the standard one.
Yeah. And you're going to get similar launch characteristics as you would expect from both ranges.
Yep.
The one that's showing up that maybe is a little different is that the TR red might scoot a little higher relative to the rest of the line.
Yeah.
From the previous
it's
red.
Typically, it's unusual too. That's the kind of thing we got to explain about red. You know, typically you don't see red high launching shafts, you know, in drivers on tour at all. You'll see them in fairway woods and stuff, but you typically don't see them in drivers. This one's a little different, right? This is not a super high launching one. It's more mid. And the CPMs are a little higher, so it's a little more stout. So it's actually, you know, one of the stiffer of the bunch. It's not, you know, typically you have the high launching one play the softest, and that's not the case with these.
No. Well, I just think of if Phil Mickelson stands out to me. He's played the red. In his driver, and I'm like, you know, we all know that he hits high, nasty bombs, so he's putting some speed behind it.
He's not going to kick anything that's super high launching. He doesn't need any help with that.
Yeah, he's already moving it up there. Right. And then you think of the guys that are playing black, and you know, I think Rory's played black. I think DJ's played black. You know, exactly what you'd expect. You know, strong
guys
tips,
super high. You know, trying to keep it down.
Yeah.
But they want to hit it high. They won't spin
it. Pretty interesting stuff. I look forward to talking about some of the VeloCore, non-VeloCore stuff.
Well, we're going to do that next.
Thanks, Mark.